Hello and welcome. So I'm on page 120 of your course pack, and so this lecture video will address specific identification and first in, first out. Okay, so we looked up here, we have this activity that we talked about before. We were purchasing the beginning inventory, and we had our beginning inventory, additional purchases, sales purchases, and then sales. And so now we have it listed down here too in a little bit more detail. And so in the last lecture video, I talked about that, and I also talked about which type of companies would be using specific identification, and specifically what we mean are those companies with expensive custom-made inventory, big ticket items that are low volume. So think a good example would be a car dealership. Okay, so let's assume then that we have our beginning inventory has 10 bikes that we purchased each one of those bikes for $91 from our supplier. On August 3rd, we bought another 15 bikes at $106. Gives us $15.90. On August 14th, we sold 8 bikes that cost $91 each and 12 bikes that cost $106 each. On August 17th, we bought another 20 bikes at $2,300. On August 28th, we bought another 10 bikes at $1,190. And then on the 31st, we sold 2 bikes that cost $91 each, 3 bikes that cost us $106 each, 15 bikes that cost us $115 each, and 3 bikes that cost us $119 each. So look at the days that I have sales on the 14th and then the 31st, and see how I'm telling you we sold 8 bikes that had cost us $91 each. See how I'm identifying the price? I'm identifying the cost, and then the cost that we bought it for, the cost that we bought it for. That's because of specific identification, that I know that I'm selling these exact bikes and these bikes cost me this much money. I can do that because it's specific identification, and I know the specific cost of each item that I'm selling. Okay? So now I'm going to move on to the next page, and we're going to set up a table here to help us calculate the value of ending inventory and of cost of goods sold. Okay, so I'm going to do a table. I'm going to put date over here, and I've got purchased, and then I've got my cost of goods sold, and then I've got my inventory balance. Okay, so on date 8/1, I purchased, this is my beginning, so I'll just write beginning, and then I had 10 bikes at $91 that I paid $91 each. Remember, that's our cost, for a total cost of $910. Okay. On 8/3, it says I bought 15 at $106, a total cost of $15.90. And I can add that $15.90 to my $910. That gives me $2,500 worth of bikes in inventory. Right? The 10 bikes of the 91 plus the 15 bikes that I bought at 106, add those all together, you get $2,500 is my inventory balance. On 8/14, it says I sold some bikes, and it says I sold 8 bikes at 91 that I paid $91 for each bike. So the 8 times 91 gives me $728 right there. And then I sold another 12 at 106, and I got that from our page 120 right there. I'm just copying it straight from there. Okay, 12 at the 106, 1,272. Add those together gives me 2,000. So that's my cost of goods sold. So this is the merchandise that I had available for sale. This is my cost of goods sold. So these are the ones that I sold. These are the ones that I had. So how much do I have left over? $500. How could I prove that? Remember, so I had 10. I sold 8 of those. So that means I have 2 left over at that $91 cost, which gives me my $182. And then I sold 12 out of the 15, which means I have 3 left over at that 106. So 3 times 106 gives me my $318. 182 plus 318 gives me $500, and I can say check. Or I could just take my merchandise available for sale minus my cost of goods sold to figure out my ending inventory. Okay? come over here to 817, and it says that we bought another 20 at 115. That was our cost for $2,300. I add that to my $500 over here. That gives me $2,800 inventory balance. And then on 8/28, I bought another 10 at 119 each, 1,190. Add that to my 2,800 right here. Gives me a balance of 3,990. That's my inventory balance. And then on 8/31, it says I sold some more bikes. So if I'm looking at page 20, it says I sold 2 bikes at 91. 2 bikes at $91 each. So all those $91 bikes are gone. Gives me one at 182. I sold 3 at my cost of 106 each for 318. And then I sold another 15 at my cost of 115. So 15 times the 115, 1,725. And then I sold another 3 at that 119 cost. 3 times 119 is 357. I add up all of those and I get total cost of goods sold 2,582. And then I subtract, so I had, this is my merchandise available for sale minus my cost of goods sold is 2,582. Gives me an ending inventory balance of 1,408. How else could I do that? Well, I sold all of these, right? All of the 91 because I sold 8 up there and I sold the remaining 2 here. I had 15 before, I sold 12 here, and I sold the remaining 3 here. So all the ones at 91 and 106 are gone. I bought 20 at 115 and then another 10 at 119, and I sold 15 at the 15 of the ones that I bought at 115. So that means I have 5 left over, 5 at that 115, which equals my 575. And then I sold 3 of the 10 here at that cost of 119, which means I have 7 left over at the 119. 833. We add those two together and we get the 1,408. Check, it works out. Okay. So now what we want to do, so we've kind of gone through, here's the ending inventory for the month, and then to figure out cost of goods sold for the month, that's what it's asking you to do right up here, is I would add the 2,000 plus my 2,582 on the 14th, 2,000 plus the 2,582 on my 31st, which gives me 4,582. That's my total cost of goods sold for August. I'm sorry. So let's look at recording the journal entries to record these transactions. Okay. So I'll come over here on a 8/14. So remember, when we make a sale, we have 2 journal entries. Now, when we look back at page 120, this is all the cost. The price was up here. So remember, we sold on the 14th, the price that we sold those bikes for is $130. On the 31st, we sold each bike for $150. And let's assume that we sold them on credit. So that means we debit accounts receivable for our $2,600, which is our total number of bikes that we sold. 20 bikes times the 130 gives me 2,600. Then I credit sales for 2,600. That's my first journal entry. And then my second journal entry is to record the cost of goods sold. And we know that right here. Cost of goods sold. So I will debit cost of goods sold for my $2,000. And then what do you think we credit? Do you remember from chapter 5? You said merchandise inventory, which I abbreviate MI. You're correct. Credit merchandise inventory. On the 31st, we sold each bike. We sold a total number of 23 bikes, and we sold each bike for $150. So 23 times 150 gives me my debit to accounts receivable, 3,450. Credit to sales, 3,450. And then I debit cost of goods sold for exactly what I had on the prior page, 2,582. Credit merchandise inventory, 2,582. Okay. All right. So let's move on to first in, first out, okay, which is also pronounced FIFO. Okay. Now what first in, first out says is that we assume that inventory are sold in the order that we buy them, or that we acquire them. So that means as the inventory comes in, we sell it. Now, if you think about the way a store probably works, right, the physical flow of inventory, that makes sense, right? That actually makes a lot of sense. You know, we get some inventory in, we want to sell it as soon as possible, so we put it out on the store floor to sell it. You know, we get some bikes in, then we're going to put them out for customers to buy right away, and then we assume that the ones that we get in, that we buy first, are the ones that we sell first. So the thing about first in, first out is that it mimics the physical flow of inventory. Where the physical flow of inventory would be we get inventory in and then we sell that inventory first. So that means the oldest costs show up in cost of goods sold. The more recent costs, so the most recent inventory purchases, show up in ending inventory. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and walk through an example over here, and we still have it's the same example that we worked with specific identification. So the same thing, we had beginning inventory, 10 bikes purchased at $91 each, bought another 15 at $106. Look at the difference there though. On August 14th, it says we sold 20 bikes. If I compare that to specific identification, look at that. Sold 8 bikes that cost me $91 each, and 12 bikes, 20 bikes, but I'm telling you, because of specific identification, I know the exact cost. Because it's first in, first out, I don't know the exact cost. I'm making assumptions. And we'll see those assumptions when we do our table here. On the 17th, same deal, 20 bikes at $2,300. The 28th, 10 bikes that cost us $1,190. And then on the 31st, 23 bikes are sold. 23 bikes are sold, okay? Same exact problem. Let's set up our table. On 8/1, say date, and we say purchased, and then we say cost of goods sold, and we say inventory balance. Okay? We say date 8/1, and that's our beginning, right? We had the 10 at 91, which equals our 910. Then on 8/3, we purchased 15 at 106, which equals our 1590 plus my 910 gives me my 2500. On 8/14, it says I made a sale, that I sold 20 bikes. Now this is first in, first out. Which ones did I sell? Which ones did I sell? Well, the ones that I sold, I start from the oldest. I assume that I sold the ones that I acquired first. So I assume the ones that I sold are the ones that I acquired first. Okay? So which ones did I acquire first? My beginning inventory, because I had those before I bought this. Right? So which ones did I sell? I sold 20, so I sold all the 10 of my beginning inventory. And then I sold another 10 to get up to the 20, right? So I sold 10 of the 106 bikes. Can add those two together, 1970, that's my cost of goods sold. Then I can take my inventory balance minus my cost of goods sold, which will give me my leftover inventory right over here, which is simply the 5 at 106, 530, which is also, I could say, check it by saying, I don't have any more of this 10, right? I'm assuming I sold all those. I sold 10 of the 15 of the 106, which means I have 5 left over at the 106, which is 5 times 106 equals our 530. Okay? So again, the way first in, first out works is we assume the ones that we sold are the ones that we acquired first. So if you think about it in terms of the table, you start at the top of the table and work your way down. So I'm going to pause this. I'm going to end this lecture video now and continue on the next lecture video with the rest of the table. Okay? Thanks so much.